right. So, Marcellus, you want to give us the last question, or you want me to just? We got two more left. We can do one of them. I like the last one.
Let's see. Okay. What is the ultimate goal rap music should accomplish for our culture? You can take rap music now and have it accomplish something that will elevate our culture. What would it be? And you can even reference like any of these savage archetypes, like we need more of this or that. You know, we need more hustler, more Pitbull results, or more power game, or more, you know, we got our superstardom. Maybe that's our advantage. We just naturally fly, like you were saying, we naturally, you know, swagged out, and we can take that. But what would you all? What would be the ultimate goal that you want rap music to be able to? The goal that rap music should accomplish for our culture.
I think one of the main ones would be Pitbull to get those results. But I think rap in its entirety is a kingpin, right? Now, there are people in rap that are making things happen. For instance, Jay-Z. He has given back in so many ways. He's doing prison reform. He's doing scholarships. He's sending the kids to school. He's supporting Tamika Mallory and her fight. So Jay-Z is actually doing like the work that the whole rap culture and community should be doing to push us forward. So I just wish that in rap we could separate it and make it a job. And then like Glorilla, where she's rapping, you know, but then once the clock is out, then she is a Black girl that is living her life, enjoying her family, and enjoying the fruits of her labor. So I wish somehow we could separate the two and not allow for rap to consume us our entire life. And especially when you're talking about Young Thug and Lil Durk going to court and they're pulling their lyrics. I thought these lyrics were entertainment. I thought these boys were telling me a story. I thought all of this was fiction. When did rap become so real without... The only time I felt like it was real when it was time to battle. I felt like you were coming with the real then. But outside of that, I listened to get a story, and now you're telling me it could be used against me because everything that I say is real. So I wish we could take rap back and allow for us to just exist in it and not allow, you know, for it to be so real for everyone.
That was beautifully stated. I champion that. Merdice?
Yeah. I think for me, it's like it's one of the key areas in life where we don't have to conform. We don't have to care what anyone thinks. We can say what we want to say. It's our voice and how we define it. And I think to be able to have the power, Marcellus, speaking to your book, the power of self-definition, and to say, I'm going to define myself on my own terms, regardless of what you think, regardless of how you perceive it, and whether or not you even accept it. To me, I think that's almost a little bit revolutionary. And I think we need more of that. We need more avenues where we're free to be who we want to be, where we can embrace our joy, no matter how that looks, no matter, you know, if it doesn't fall into your perfect package of what you think culturally we should represent. These young people, these rap artists, these older rap artists, they all have a voice and they're defining themselves on their own terms. So that's one thing I love about it. And I appreciate that's what it gives. Even though I might not like Sexy Red, she still is defining who she is on her terms. And I'm happy for her from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, you're going to tell your mom, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm raising my son on rap music. I'm following my dreams. I'm making space in my life to still have a voice in this realm. And I'm still doing what I want to do. Like, to me, I that's the part I love about it. Is it's one time we don't have to be what they want us to be. We get to decide what we represent in our music. And I love it.
Yeah.
I get too radical.
But it's a little rough. I know what you're saying, but But it's a little rough when you have girls making rap songs their life. You see what I'm saying? So if we had more of and I know the Sexy Red songs. I know Bow Bow Bow. I know all the songs, right? Because I'm vibing with her. But I'm not taking on her lifestyle. I'm not going to, talk foul. Every word is about, personal parts and things of that nature. So I just wish she, yes, be free in rap, but outside of rap, show us something of substance. And Marcellus, you are correct. I did see an interview where she was doing like a beauty cosmetic line, which I understand making the money, but still you have a responsibility out here just to instill into the youth. So share those things more so we just don't have a whole bunch of girls feeling like it's okay to be sexy red 24/7 in their life.
Yeah. Are we going to debate rap artists raising our kids? But I'm going to let that go. But I think if she presented herself in any other way, she's not authentic to herself. I think that's her true self. And I think there's still some power in that, regardless of how it's perceived by us. I mean,
I think when we're thinking about, I think when in your, I mean, both points are definitely highly respected. But when I think about Merdice, your point, I do think about the bigger picture. I think about what is this beyond hip hop and the things that we face. You know what I'm saying? When we're thinking about the social injustice, racism, and all when we talk about that angle of it, that power definitely needs to exist. Where we need to be like free to be what we do, because I'm not saying we code switch, but we do kind of pause when it comes to certain things when we're talking about or when they're in that element, and at the same time too, when we're thinking about entrepreneurship and ownership, you know what I'm saying? These people own these things; they have the liberties to do that. So we do need that massive amount of power to exist, so we can be able to exist. But I do like the kingpin action as well. I like the kingpin perspective too, but like that power part, I definitely understand that. And I mean, listen, and I'm not, listen, Mom, I love you. If you listen to this, I love you. But I don't want to make it seem like I'm bashing my mom, but there are other issues outside of the house that is like stopping people from being the true people that they are, that can have an influence on others to come and others that are even in existence. So I side with both of y'all, with Traci and Merdice, what y'all saying. Both of them was beautifully stated.
Yeah. I thought we were on the same. Me and Merdice was on the same. It was no debating there.
Weak.
I share as a alternate perspective. To someone shared this with me, and it touched me in a way where I was like, wow. They mentioned that when hip hop, at some point, hip hop music and powers that be, because we remember at a certain point it was a variety of music. You had your Public Enemy, and you had some Paris One type energy, and then you had Bahamadia, and then you had some NWA, and you had Too Short, and so it was a variety. You know what I'm saying? Now it's probably not as much of a variety. In the way that is distributed or promoted. But someone shared with me, they were like, you know what, when you think of the music that we're like, man, that might be too much. It's excessive killing and drug dealing. And it's like, whose fantasy is that? Because this entertainment is about sharing not just stories, but fantasies. That was not a Black person's fantasy to like murder, all the high artillery, gunpowder, shoot them up. And us shooting ourselves up, that was not our fantasy. They were saying that was a white teenager's fantasy. When they thought about the hood and gang banging, that's what they see. And so that was music that was selected to be programmed and promoted for the world to see, because at that time, and even now, they accounted for like 80% of hip hop sales, even though we create it and we champion it and we give it the power that it has. When it comes to a lot of these concert tickets, And when it came to CDs, when they were sold or even streams to this day, a lot of who's paying a subscription for, Apple Music and Tidal and Spotify. Like when you think of, where the money is going, a lot of it is still centered towards, this other community. And if you think about the women's side, it's like, whose fantasy? You can go to two different types of clubs. You can go, let's say, a strip club, and it's like, in a black strip club, that's not people kind of cool and chill. It ain't overly rah 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 with that. That other extra stuff is normally in some other type of, clubs. And it's like, wow, y'all. I remember I was 19 working somewhere, and people twice my age were like, yeah, we're going here, we're going to get you in there. And they were they were not black people. And I was like, y'all are savages, and not the way that I'm writing about it in this book, but y'all was wilding. I've never seen nobody wilding. These dudes was on some doctor, lawyer type stuff, like in their 50s, but they was wilding. And I'm like, oh, that's y'all fantasy. And more so, that's y'all kids' fantasy, because they know y'all step out and do that. So that was a white teenager's fantasy, to see women, black women particularly, in that way, and black men shoot 'em up, dope boy till you die. That was their fantasy, and that was overly programmed. So they shared that to say we may not have been given a chance to know exactly what we want. And it might look a little sexy reddish, or it might look a little more Lauryn Hillish, but whatever that was, we were never given an opportunity to own a platform and distribute and promote the way that, unfortunately, Diddy was trying to do with Revolt in some way. Bill Cosby may have wanted to continue a Cosby Show type of, when he was going to pursue buying NBC. But if that wasn't the case, maybe we would see a little more opera. Maybe we would hear a little more Lauryn Hill element, but we don't know. It's almost like the food that we eat. It's not until Merdice, you travel, and Traci, you travel, internationally. There's all different types of lifestyles, food, experiences. Parties can be totally different. And it's like, wow, what were we really doing before we were brought here? Or what were we really on track, and what do we really want if we weren't programmed and we weren't just forced to say, yeah, I rock with this or rock with that, because that was somebody else's fantasy, and they built a program off of our talent to feed their fetishes. But what would we want? And it made me think, like, dang, somebody was like, you might love opera, like Leontine Price opera, but you were never given that ability, to tap into that. So it made me just think. I think everything happens for a reason. I think hip hop is the most incredible genre ever. There's no level, like you said, murder, self-expression, self-empowerment, and a sense of urgency to get things moving and jumping. But yeah, is there a transformation, and is there this other purified utopia to hip hop that we might not even have a clue? It's powerful now, and so my one, if there was a suggestion I would throw in there, be these other communities have like media coalition groups. You can't just put up the ratchetness of the Latinas. Like, they have a Hispanic media coalition that says we will help control what goes on certain, on media platforms or not. And they own some, and they have their own language, where it's like, you got to really come through us and speak our language before you even get to advertise, on our platform. We don't have some of that. Like, and so, but if we had a media coalition, and it was like, you got a Jay-Z and Beyonce, but then you got a Killer Mike and David Banner, and you got to, bring Lauryn Hill back in the mix, and any other type of power players. And it's like, we're going to help rediscover this utopia intentionally. And it could be something. I know that, but that goes back to unity. I know sometimes we have a challenge with that. We have a lot of kingpins. Sometimes that's a gift and a curse, in terms of working together. But yeah, I think that's why when we see independent platforms, like we're looking at Meow and Barks Boutique, and that is 100% black owned. That is 100% what you thought about. the fashions that you pick, and that don't look like every store that we look. I'm seeing some that ain't the Sheen type situations. That ain't no Fashion Nova.
Let them know.
That ain't one
This
or
is
two
for
wears,
us.
and then you out of gas. Like, that is a Black woman that came out of an incredible family, incredible culture, influenced by hip hop, and she had a vision, and that's what you see, and that's what you get. How often are people able to create music and distribute their music in that way? The same way that you put together these fabrics and these fashions and set the trend based on your vision. Like, I wonder how often we get a chance to do that in hip hop. And maybe Sexy Red would sound like Sexy Red. I don't think she's been given 100% be who you are, know who you are, and know that you will be successful, whether you rap about, twerking all your life, or you rap about, like, empowering, the next wave of Tracy's to set up their own businesses. Like, I don't even know if she's given that opportunity. It's like, nah, get Bruno Mars on another joint like yours and keep that same energy. And it's like, damn, that's what you bring Bruno Mars on the track to do? Like, that's what did he come up like that? Or is he maintaining relevancy by, I don't know. I don't know what that Rubik's Cube is supposed to look like, but it might not, it may not have started like that.
But I got beef with him really quick because Bruno did it with Cardi B, then he come back and do it with Sexy Red. Don't come flooding our community with all of that foolishness, So it's like, I got a ratchet rapper. It worked the first time. Let me see if it works the second time. So it's like, so you're about to make like a program off of this? This is what you do now, Bruno Mars? Okay. Note taken. I'm very protective about hip hop and rap. I'm all in the culture.
For real. Did it work though? Did he win?
Did they win? It worked.
Okay.
It got him. It got when he did it with Cardi, they opened up the Grammys or the American Music Awards with the song, and it's working now with Sexy Red. So I mean, it's working, and he's gonna do it again. He's gonna get the next ratchet girl come in, and they're gonna do a sexual song, and it's gonna be a hit, and it's gonna flood all over, top 100, and he's gonna have it. But I had a problem with that. But anyway, that's just me.
And that's the tough part, because when you're winning and you're getting, they may increase their annual revenue income by like 10 or 20% off of just that song alone, that's going to pay them in perpetuity for the next maybe 20 years plus. It's hard when you're playing that game to be like, all right, we ain't going to do it, because the formula is quote unquote working. It made you way more money. It makes you even more relevant and hotter, more popular. It's like, damn, you got to have such moral integrity to be like, yeah, I could make $20 million off of this, and I'm not going to do it. That's a different type of discipline. And props to you all. You all have platforms. Y'all are in industries where you all could not make the moral, the higher moral decision. But time and time again, I see you all choose that. You protect your brand, LP, with integrity. You protect your brand, Tracy. You protect your professional ascension and elevation with what you do in your industry, Merdice. That's because y'all could be like, you know what? I'm going to get more of this bag over here. Bump the culture. Bump this, holier than thou energy. Like, I'm going to get it, but it would have an impact. So to not make that decision, I don't think people like you all get enough credit for that. So.
Beautiful.
You're the
beautiful.
Same goes for you.
Indeed. All right. Well, this was a beautiful conversation. We are at the end of it. Oh man, I just appreciate this type of energy. I can sit in this type of energy day in, day out, but life be lifing on that tip, and we have to deal with the simplicities of people's minds. But these are some great minds that we're talking to right now. So I truly appreciate this conversation with you all three on my platform. Thank you so much. Before we go, please go around the table and let people know where they can find you at, or where not to find you at. Protecting yourself.
I'm Tracy with Meow and Barks Boutique. You can find us at 1537 San Marco Boulevard in Jacksonville, Florida. Online at meowandbarksboutique.com.
And I'm Merdice Evans, Traci's sister. And I guess you can find me at Meow and Barks Boutique as well, if you're lucky.
No, but she's one of my biggest supporters. So just thank you, Merdice, so much for always supporting me. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna be at Meow and Barks Boutique as well, getting in there with them sisters. And I'm also going to be trying to travel internationally with them, because you may see them in Dubai, you may see them in South Africa, you may see them pulling up in Paris for Fashion Week. So you may see them there. They move like that. And I'm gonna give y'all credit because a lot of times, me being from up north Chicago, is like, oh, Florida, down south, there's a certain persona or archetype for, down south here and there. You all are so universal, even in y'all energy and wave. Like, without mentioning Florida, like, one couldn't tell Alpine, Merdice, Traci, if y'all said y'all was from LA, be like, yeah, I think so, probably so. If you said New York, if you said Philly, I'd be like, I can see that. If y'all said Chicago, I'd be like, yeah, I see myself in Chicago like that. Like, so y'all have a unit. So that's dope, because I think our greatness and our culture, it breaks through. At this point, it doesn't matter where Kendrick Lamar is from. He's universal. It doesn't matter where Nicki Minaj is from. She
for sure.
is universal. So y'all have done that. But yeah, Savage Matrix. Y'all go to savagematrix.com and grab that. Discover. Take a test. You can discover which archetype you are. You listening to a bunch of Pitbulls, but you may be a Pitbull. You may be a hustler. Or you might be a stripper. Don't be afraid of being a stripper. The stripper is superstar.
Let me go get that tattoo.
Talented energy.
I wanted to be a stripper.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Like in the book, not
in the book, girl, in the book. But I would like to say, and really quick, Alpine, because I know you have to wrap this up. Marcellus, you were talking about where me and Merdice have traveled. And I would like to say, when I seen the picture of you in the hands of Muhammad Ali, those are hands of the greatest champion ever. We could never travel in those hands. So tell me about some places you've been. Not really, because I know Alpine has to close it down. But that picture, Marcellus, should be on your Instagram. So I'm going to be looking forward tomorrow to be in the hands of Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. And I quoted him. Me and Marcellus has been friends for a long time. And I talk about Muhammad Ali all the time. And he never told me that Muhammad Ali held him. But that's another thing. I'm zipped up.
That's the kingpin. I could talk about Muhammad Ali for 10 more podcast episodes. I'll spare y'all. But my dad knew him, and I was like 3 or 4 years old, and he was holding me, in the picture. That was classic memory. I had I studied him. He's Tupac, he's Michael Jordan, he is I'm trying to think of another personality. Floyd Mayweather, he is all of that combined in his greatest form. Yeah, Malcolm X in there, like he, not that I knew him like that, but I've studied him, and he, I'm glad you brought him up. That is a kingpin. That is a revolutionary, who will live forever, through our culture.
Indeed. Explains the book. You've been held by greatness. You got the book that is greatness as well. I mean, yeah, makes more and more sense as we have these conversations. So, in a way,
rumble, young man, rumble, young woman, rumble.
Hey.